Success doesn't come to the soft, the lazy, or the ones waiting for luck. Success comes to the man or woman who decides right now to own their mindset, to sharpen their discipline, and to walk into every battle prepared to win. Tonight, I'm here to reveal the mindset that built champions, the mindset that separates average from greatness, the mindset that wins no matter the odds. Discipline over motivation is one of the most misunderstood principles in life. People are taught from a very young age that motivation is the fuel that keeps you going, when in reality, motivation is fleeting, fragile, and unreliable. Motivation is like a spark that lights for a moment and then burns out, leaving you in the dark unless you have something stronger to hold on to. That stronger foundation is discipline. Discipline is the structure that carries you when your feelings fail, when your energy drops, and when your mind tells you to stop. Discipline is not exciting. It is not glamorous. It does not give you the rush of adrenaline that motivation does, but it will always be there for you if you build it brick by brick into your daily life. Motivation depends on emotion, and emotions change like the weather, sometimes sunny, sometimes stormy, sometimes calm, sometimes chaotic. But discipline is built on decision, and decision is something you can control, something you can return to again and again, no matter what the outside world throws at you. Think about how many times you have felt motivated after watching a speech, reading a book, or listening to a powerful message. In that moment, you feel unstoppable, like you can climb mountains, like nothing can slow you down. But what happens the next morning when the alarm clock rings at 5 a.m. and your body tells you it is too early, that you deserve more sleep, that you can start tomorrow? Motivation is nowhere to be found in that moment. What you need is discipline, the ability to act regardless of how you feel. Discipline tells you to rise, to get up, to push forward because you made a commitment to yourself. Motivation might have lit the fire in you, but discipline is what keeps the fire alive through the cold nights, through the storms, and through the days when everything in you wants to quit. Discipline is about mastering the small things, the daily actions that seem insignificant, but build into something unstoppable over time. Waking up on time, training when you do not feel like it, studying when your mind is tired, pushing through the repetitions, eating the right food, practicing the same skill over and over even when you are bored. These are not glamorous moments. Nobody claps for you when you wake up early. Nobody cheers when you resist temptation. Nobody posts about the hours you spend in solitude perfecting your craft. Yet these are the very things that shape your character, that sharpen your edge, that prepare you for the moments when everything is on the line. Discipline does not look like glory, but it produces glory. Discipline does not feel like greatness, but it creates greatness. People who rely only on motivation live in cycles of inconsistency. They start strong but fade away when the excitement is gone. They go to the gym for a week and then stop when they no longer feel the initial rush. They begin a new project, a new goal, a new plan with fire in their chest, but the moment the grind gets tough, they disappear. The disciplined person, however, does not care about feeling like it. They show up every day because they said they would, because they made a promise to themselves, because they refused to break that promise. And when you train yourself to honor your word to yourself, you become unstoppable. Discipline builds trust in yourself. You learn that when you say you will do something, you actually do it. That is the root of confidence. Confidence is not built by hype. It is built by following through on your commitments to yourself over and over until it becomes who you are. Discipline is also the greatest equalizer. You may not be the most talented. You may not have the best resources. You may not start with the best conditions. But if you have discipline, you can outlast and outperform those who rely only on talent and motivation. Talent without discipline is wasted potential. Motivation without discipline is wasted energy. The person with discipline will train longer, study harder, practice more consistently, and show up even when they are tired. Over time, discipline compounds, and the disciplined person becomes a giant. They may not win in the first round. They may not look impressive in the beginning, but while others quit, they keep going, and that persistence breaks down every obstacle. Think about the great athletes, the champions, the leaders, the legends. Every single one of them has felt unmotivated. Every single one of them has had days where they did not want to practice, where they did not want to wake up, where they did not want to keep going. But the reason they are remembered, the reason their names live on, is not because they were always motivated, but because they were disciplined. They treated discipline as a non-negotiable, as a way of life, as the foundation of everything they did. And when discipline becomes part of who you are, you no longer argue with yourself about whether or not you should do something. You simply do it. It becomes automatic. And that automatic discipline is freedom. Freedom comes from discipline because discipline removes the constant battle in your mind. Without discipline, every decision becomes a debate. Should I wake up or should I sleep in? Should I eat this junk food or should I stay healthy? Should I skip the workout or should I go? Without discipline, you waste energy fighting these battles every single day. And most of the time, emotion wins. But when you build discipline, those debates disappear. The decision has already been made. You wake up because that is what you do. You train because that is what you do. You work because that is who you are. There is no room for negotiation with your weaker self. Discipline eliminates the wasted energy of indecision and allows you to focus on execution. Another truth about discipline is that it is not a gift you are born with. It is a skill you build. People make the mistake of believing that some are naturally disciplined and others are not. But the reality is that discipline is created through repetition and practice. You start small, you build habits, and you train your mind to obey your decisions rather than your emotions. The more you follow through, the stronger your discipline becomes, just like a muscle. At first, it feels hard, almost impossible. You resist, you procrastinate, you doubt. But the more you push yourself to act despite the resistance, the easier it becomes. Eventually, discipline grows to the point where it feels harder to break your routine than to follow it. That is the level you must aim for. Discipline also teaches you respect, not just for yourself, but for time, for effort, and for the process. When you are disciplined, you value the hours of your day because you know every wasted minute is a step backward. You value effort because you understand that effort compounds into results, and you respect the process because you know there are no shortcuts worth taking. Motivation makes you want results quickly. Discipline makes you willing to grind patiently. Motivation wants the trophy. Discipline falls in love with the training. Motivation looks for the high points. Discipline builds strength in the valleys. Discipline is not about punishment. It is about alignment. When you are disciplined, your actions align with your goals. Your behavior aligns with your vision. And your decisions align with your values. You are no longer living in conflict with yourself. There is harmony between what you say you want and what you actually do. That alignment creates a power inside you that cannot be shaken by circumstances. Life will always throw distractions, obstacles, temptations, and setbacks at you. But if you are disciplined, you already know how to respond. You do not let emotions dictate your path. You do not let fear paralyze you. You do not let laziness steal your future. You act in alignment with your purpose because you trained yourself to do so. The truth is, discipline is the bridge between your vision and your reality. Everybody dreams of success. Everybody imagines a better life, but only those with discipline ever touch it. Motivation paints the picture in your mind, but discipline builds the bridge that gets you there. Without discipline, dreams remain fantasies, goals remain empty words, and potential remains unused. With discipline, everything changes because you do not just talk about it, you live it. You embody it. You become it. Turning pain into power is one of the greatest transformations any human being can experience because pain is something every single one of us is guaranteed to face. There is no life without struggle, no dream without sacrifice, no victory without scars. Pain is universal, but how we respond to it separates the weak from the strong, the average from the extraordinary, the forgotten from the legendary. Pain can be the weight that crushes you or the fuel that drives you. It can be the excuse you use to quit or the reason you rise to another level. The truth is, pain is not your enemy. Pain is your teacher, your trainer, your sharpening stone. The very thing you think is breaking you is actually shaping you into who you are meant to be if you choose to face it and not run from it. Pain is proof that you are alive, that you are pushing, that you are stepping into territory where growth happens. Nobody grows in comfort. Nobody transforms in safety. Nobody discovers their true potential while avoiding hardship. Pain is the signal that you are pressing beyond limits, that you are stretching your capacity, that you are in the process of becoming more than you were before. The problem is, most people run from pain. They hide from it. They numb it with distractions. They bury it under excuses. They do not understand that avoiding pain only multiplies it. The pain you refuse to face today becomes the regret you carry tomorrow. And regret is a pain that never leaves. But when you confront pain, when you walk straight into it, when you take its blows and refuse to fall, you discover a strength inside yourself that you never knew was there. That strength becomes your power. Think about the times in your life when you grew the most, when you became tougher, wiser, stronger. Was it during the easy days when everything went your way? Or was it during the storms when nothing seemed to work? When doors slammed shut? When people doubted you, when you felt alone? Pain has always been the trigger for transformation. Every scar on your body, every heartbreak, every setback carries a story, and inside that story is power if you are willing to extract it. Pain humbles you. Pain teaches you discipline. Pain shows you the cost of growth. It is through pain that you learn patience, resilience, and the ability to endure. And the more pain you endure, the greater your capacity to carry weight, responsibility, and leadership. Pain can destroy you if you let it, but it can also be the foundation of your greatness. The strongest steel is forged in the hottest fire. Diamonds are created under immense pressure. Warriors are trained through battle. Without struggle, there is no strength. Without pressure, there is no breakthrough. Without resistance, there is no resilience. Pain is the process that refines you, that strips away weakness, that reveals the core of who you are. You cannot fake strength when life hits you. Pain reveals whether your foundation is solid or fragile. It exposes the truth, but it also gives you the chance to rebuild, to reinforce, to become unshakable. The key is perspective. Most people see pain as punishment, but those who rise see pain as preparation. Every tear, every loss, every disappointment is preparing you for something greater. Life does not hand out victories without testing whether you are ready to handle them. Pain is the test. If you cannot endure pressure, you cannot handle success because success brings its own weight. Pain is training you to carry the blessings you have been asking for. That is why you cannot curse your pain. You cannot despise it. You cannot wish it away. You have to respect it, embrace it, and transform it. Turning pain into power begins with refusing to waste it. Pain is wasted when you let it make you bitter instead of better. When you let it shut you down instead of wake you up. When you let it build resentment instead of resilience. Every wound can become a weakness or a weapon. You decide. If you use your pain as fuel, it will carry you further than motivation ever could. Pain gives you a reason to fight, a reason to rise, a reason to prove to yourself that you will not be broken. The hunger that comes from pain is unmatched. It drives you on the days you have nothing left. It pushes you when everything in you wants to quit. It reminds you that you have survived worse before, and you can survive this too. Look at the champions, the leaders, the legends. Behind every one of them is a story of pain. The defeats, the rejections, the betrayals, the failures. All of them could have ended the journey. But instead, those moments became fuel. They turned heartbreak into hunger, loss into lessons, pain into power. That is why they stand on top. Not because life was easy, not because the road was smooth, but because they refused to let pain bury them. They used it to rise. Pain also builds empathy and connection. When you go through pain, you understand what others are going through. You learn compassion. You learn to lead with heart. You learn to lift others because you know what it feels like to be low. Pain gives you depth. It strips away arrogance and replaces it with authenticity. People do not connect with perfection. They connect with scars, with honesty, with stories of struggle and survival. When you turn your pain into power, you not only rise for yourself, but you also become a light for others who are in their own darkness. Your scars become their hope. Your survival becomes their inspiration. Your resilience becomes their blueprint. The process of turning pain into power requires facing it, not running from it. You have to be willing to sit in the discomfort, to feel the weight, to acknowledge the hurt. Pretending it does not exist will not free you. You cannot heal what you refuse to confront. When you face your pain, you take control of it. You strip it of its power to control you. You decide how it will shape you. That is where transformation begins. Another step is reframing. Instead of asking, why me? Ask, what is this teaching me? What is this building in me? How can I use this? Those questions turn pain from a curse into a classroom. They shift your focus from suffering to growth. They empower you to see purpose in the struggle. That does not mean the pain disappears. It does not mean it becomes easy. It means you are choosing to extract value from it. You are choosing to become stronger because of it. Pain also demands endurance. It tests how long you can keep going, how much weight you can carry, how much fire you can stand in. Endurance is not built in comfort, it is built in pain. The longer you endure, the more resilient you become. And resilience is power. Resilience means you cannot be broken. You cannot be stopped. You cannot be defeated permanently. You may bend, but you will not break. You may stumble, but you will not stay down. That kind of power intimidates every obstacle because no matter what comes against you, you will not quit. When you turn pain into power, you learn to appreciate it as part of your story. You stop resenting the hard seasons because you understand they were necessary. The pain taught you discipline. It taught you humility. It taught you strength. Without it, you would not be who you are. Every scar is a reminder, not just of what hurt you, but of what you survived, of what you conquered, of what you turned into fuel. Pain becomes a badge of honor because it means you kept moving when others stopped. Pain also unlocks creativity and innovation. Some of the greatest inventions, breakthroughs, and works of art were born out of pain. When people are broken, they often create. They write, they innovate, they discover new ways forward. Pain pushes you to dig deeper, to think differently, to find solutions you never would have considered in comfort. It forces you to grow not only stronger, but also smarter. That is power. Even physically, pain pushes your limits. In training, in sports, in fitness, pain is what signals growth. Muscles do not grow without strain. Endurance does not improve without fatigue. Strength is not built without resistance. The same is true mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Growth requires stretching, and stretching requires pain. Every area of your life is strengthened by the pain you endure. That is why the strongest people are not the ones who avoided pain, but the ones who faced it and turned it into fuel. Pain is not the end of the story, it is the beginning of transformation. Every time you face pain, you are standing at a crossroads. One road leads to defeat, the other leads to power. Most people choose the easy road, the road of avoidance, the road of denial, the road of quitting. But if you are willing to take the harder road, the one that forces you to endure, to push, to grow, you will discover power beyond anything you imagined. That power will carry you further than talent, further than luck, further than motivation. It will make you unbreakable. Consistency beats talent, because talent without consistency is nothing more than wasted potential, a spark that flashes for a moment and disappears into darkness. Talent might get you noticed. Talent might give you a head start, but talent alone will not keep you in the game, will not sustain you when life gets hard, will not guarantee you victory when you are standing against people who show up day after day, year after year without excuses. Consistency is the great equalizer. It does not matter where you start. It does not matter if others seem more gifted. It does not matter if you feel behind. If you can be consistent, if you can show up and put in the work no matter how you feel, no matter what obstacles stand in your way, you will outlast and eventually outshine those who rely only on raw ability. Consistency is not glamorous. It does not give you instant results. It does not attract applause. It does not always look impressive in the moment. Consistency is quiet, often unnoticed, often uncelebrated, but it is the foundation of every great achievement you will ever see. Think of a sculptor working on a block of stone. One strike of the hammer does nothing. 10 strikes barely make a dent, but strike after strike eventually creates a masterpiece. That is consistency, day after day, effort after effort, step after step. Alone, each effort may seem small, even insignificant, but together they build something unstoppable. The problem with most people is that they chase intensity instead of consistency. They want to do something big once instead of something small every day. They want the quick fix, the shortcut, the secret formula. But greatness is never built in a single moment of intensity. It is built in the discipline of repetition. Anyone can run hard for a day. Few can run steady for years. Anyone can give effort when they feel motivated. Few can give effort when they feel empty. That is why consistency beats talent, because talent fades without repetition, but consistency compounds and multiplies over time. When you are consistent, you develop habits, and habits shape your destiny. Every day you show up, you are casting a vote for the person you want to become. One workout may not change your body. One study session may not change your knowledge. One act of discipline may not change your character. But when those acts are repeated day after day, they transform you. Consistency rewires your brain, reshapes your identity, and engraves new patterns into your life. You stop being someone who tries and start being someone who lives it. You do not just do the work, you become the work. Consistency also builds trust, both with yourself and with others. When you are consistent, you prove to yourself that you can be relied upon. You eliminate the internal doubt that whispers you will quit when it gets hard. You build confidence, not the kind that comes from hype or external validation, but the deep confidence that comes from knowing you will not betray your own word. When you tell yourself you will do something and you actually do it repeatedly, you become unstoppable. Others begin to trust you too. They know you will show up. They know you will deliver. They know you will not disappear when things get tough. Trust is built on consistency, and trust is the foundation of influence, leadership, and legacy. Consistency is also the antidote to failure. Everybody fails, everybody stumbles, everybody falls short at times. But the consistent person does not stay down. They get back up, they try again, they keep moving. Failure is not the end for them. It is just another part of the journey. Because they are consistent, one failure does not define them. They understand that failure is temporary, but quitting is permanent. They refuse to quit, and that refusal allows them to outlast everyone who does. Talent is fragile because it depends on conditions. It shines when the circumstances are perfect, when the stage is set, when everything aligns. Consistency does not care about conditions. Consistency shows up in the rain, in the storm, in the silence, in the pain. Consistency is not about waiting for the perfect moment. It is about making every moment count. While others wait for inspiration, the consistent person creates progress. While others complain about obstacles, the consistent person adapts and keeps moving. That persistence is more powerful than any burst of talent. Think about the greatest athletes, the greatest leaders, the greatest creators. They were not always the most talented in the beginning, but they were the most consistent. They trained when nobody was watching. They practiced the fundamentals when others were bored. They stayed committed when others quit. Over time, their consistency turned into mastery, and mastery is what people call talent after years of unseen work. What looks like natural genius is usually relentless consistency hidden in the shadows. Consistency is also about patience. We live in a world addicted to speed, to instant gratification, to quick rewards. But true growth, true mastery, true success takes time. Seeds do not turn into trees overnight. Muscles do not grow in a single workout. Businesses do not thrive after one good idea. Relationships do not deepen after one conversation. Everything meaningful requires time, and time requires consistency. Without patience, you give up before the results come. Without consistency, you never give the process enough time to work. But when you combine patience with consistency, the results are inevitable. Consistency also protects you from the roller coaster of emotions. Motivation goes up and down, excitement comes and goes. Moods change daily. If you are controlled by emotion, your effort will be inconsistent. But consistency means you act regardless of emotion. You do not let feelings dictate your future. You wake up and do what needs to be done, whether you are tired, bored, excited, or unmotivated. That stability is what builds strength. That steadiness is what creates reliability. That ability to act despite emotions is what separates the great from the average. Even in the face of talent, consistency is unmatched because talent can create arrogance. Talented people sometimes believe they do not need to work as hard, that their natural ability will carry them. That arrogance leads to complacency, and complacency is the enemy of progress. The consistent person, even if less talented, will continue improving, continue sharpening, continue building. And eventually, they will surpass the talented, but complacent because growth beats stagnation every single time. Consistency also compounds. A small action repeated daily becomes massive over years. Reading 10 pages a day becomes hundreds of books over time. Saving a small amount of money becomes wealth. Training for 30 minutes daily becomes peak fitness. Practicing your craft consistently makes you a master. Consistency is not about doing everything at once. It is about doing something every day without fail. Those small daily actions accumulate into unstoppable momentum. What looks like small progress in the moment becomes exponential growth in the future. Consistency beats talent because consistency creates character. Talent can be given, but character must be built. Character is what allows you to endure, to persevere, to stay focused. Character is forged in the daily grind, in the discipline of doing what is necessary even when you do not want to. Consistency builds that character. It teaches you resilience, patience, humility, and perseverance. Without character, talent collapses under pressure. With character, even limited talent can achieve greatness. When you are consistent, you also learn the art of delayed gratification. You stop chasing the quick high of immediate results and start appreciating the slow burn of long-term growth. You stop needing validation today and start focusing on the person you are becoming tomorrow. That shift in mindset frees you from the traps that stop most people. They give up because they do not see instant results. You keep going because you understand results take time. That mindset alone puts you ahead of 90% of people. Consistency requires sacrifice. You cannot be consistent if you are distracted, if you are chasing every shiny object, if you are unwilling to give up comfort. Consistency means saying no to distractions, no to laziness, no to excuses. It means prioritizing what matters every single day. Talent does not require sacrifice in the beginning, but consistency does. And that sacrifice creates discipline. That discipline makes you stronger than talent ever could. Consistency also builds momentum. When you start, it feels hard, it feels slow. It feels like nothing is changing. But as you continue, momentum builds, progress compounds, and suddenly what felt impossible becomes natural. The hardest part of consistency is the beginning, pushing through the resistance, building the habit. Once momentum takes over, consistency becomes easier and progress accelerates. Talent may give you a fast start, but consistency will carry you across the finish line. Even in failure, consistency wins. You may fail 1,000 times, but if you keep showing up, eventually you will succeed. The consistent person cannot be defeated permanently because they always come back. They always rise again. They always try one more time. That persistence wears down every obstacle, breaks through every wall, and eventually creates breakthrough. Talent might fail once and quit. Consistency fails 1,000 times and keeps moving until success is inevitable. Consistency beats talent in every arena because life is not a sprint, it is a marathon. In a sprint, talent might shine. In a marathon, consistency dominates. The journey of life is long, filled with challenges, filled with setbacks, filled with battles. Talent will not carry you through all of them, but consistency will. Consistency gives you the endurance to keep moving, the resilience to withstand storms, the patience to wait for harvest. Consistency is the hidden advantage. While others are chasing shortcuts, you are building steadily. While others burn out, you are still standing. While others fade, you are rising. And eventually, consistency turns into mastery. Mastery turns into greatness. And greatness turns into legacy. Energy is a choice because every single day you wake up with the power to decide how you will show up in the world. And that decision determines everything that follows. Too many people act as if energy is something outside their control, as if they are simply at the mercy of how much sleep they got, how much coffee they drank, or how good their day is going. They believe energy is given or taken by circumstances. But the truth is that energy is not just physical fuel. It is a mindset, a state of being, a deliberate decision to bring intensity, focus, and fire into whatever you do. The body follows the mind. And when you choose energy, when you decide to attack the day, when you refuse to let excuses, fatigue, or negativity dominate you, you shift everything around you. Energy is contagious. Walk into a room with low energy and the air feels heavy. Conversations drag, progress slows. Walk into a room with high energy and suddenly people sit up straighter. They listen more intently. They feel inspired to act. One person's choice to bring energy can elevate everyone, just as one person's decision to bring negativity can drain everyone. That is why leaders, champions, and high performers understand that energy is not optional. It is a responsibility. They know their energy sets the tone, and they take ownership of it. They do not wait to feel ready. They do not wait for perfect conditions. They generate energy by choice, by decision, by action. When you treat energy as a choice, you stop being a victim of circumstances. You stop saying, I'm tired, so I can't, or I don't feel like it, so I won't. Instead, you start saying, I may be tired, but I choose to bring my best. I may not feel like it, but I choose to show up with fire. That decision transforms ordinary moments into extraordinary ones. Some of the most important breakthroughs in life come not when you felt your best, but when you chose to give your best anyway. Energy is not about perfection. It is about presence, about refusing to give less than what you are capable of, even when you do not feel like giving at all. Energy also creates momentum. When you choose energy in one moment, it makes the next moment easier. When you attack your morning with energy, the rest of the day follows that rhythm. When you show up to your workout with energy, your body responds with strength. When you face a challenge with energy, your mind unlocks solutions instead of excuses. Energy multiplies itself. A lazy decision leads to more laziness, but an energetic decision sparks more energy. That is why your initial choice each day matters so much. The way you start often dictates the way you finish. Energy is also a reflection of your standards. If you live with low energy, it often means you have accepted a low standard for yourself. You have accepted mediocrity. You have accepted excuses. You have accepted that you are willing to give less than your best. But when you decide to bring energy regardless of the situation, you are declaring that your standards are higher, that you refuse to live passively, that you demand more of yourself than comfort or convenience. Energy is excellence in motion. It is the visible expression of an internal commitment to greatness. People often confuse energy with motivation, but they are not the same. Motivation is a feeling that comes and goes, but energy is a choice you can make at any time. You may not feel motivated, but you can still bring energy. You may not feel excited, but you can still attack the task in front of you. Energy is not about waiting for the right feeling. It is about creating the right state through action. That is why movement matters. When you move your body, when you shift your posture, when you breathe deeply, when you speak with strength, you generate energy. Your body is a tool, and how you use it directly affects your energy. Slouch, mumble, drag your feet, and you will feel drained. Stand tall, speak with power, move with purpose, and energy will rise. Energy is also tied to focus. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. If you focus on problems, your energy drops. If you focus on possibilities, your energy rises. If you focus on excuses, you drain yourself. If you focus on solutions, you empower yourself. Energy is not just about physical effort. It is about mental direction. Every thought either fuels you or depletes you. That is why you must guard your mind. What you allow yourself to dwell on will determine whether you rise with energy or collapse into weakness. Choosing energy does not mean you never feel tired. It means you refuse to let tiredness define you. Champions often compete when their bodies ache, when their minds are exhausted, when their circumstances are difficult. What carries them through is not perfect physical condition, but the decision to bring energy anyway. That choice separates those who win from those who give up. The body will always send signals of fatigue, but the mind decides whether to surrender to them or override them. When you train yourself to override, you discover that you are capable of far more than you imagined. Energy also dictates influence. People follow energy. They may respect intelligence. They may admire talent, but they are moved by energy. The leader with energy inspires trust, inspires action, inspires belief. The teacher with energy makes learning come alive. The athlete with energy electrifies the crowd. The parent with energy lifts the household. Whatever role you play, your energy is your impact. You can either drain the room or elevate it. That is why choosing energy is not just about you. It is about everyone you touch. Energy also creates resilience. When you face obstacles with low energy, every challenge feels bigger than it is. Problems look impossible. Setbacks feel permanent. Failures feel fatal. But when you bring energy, suddenly the same obstacles shrink. You approach them with confidence, with creativity, with determination. Energy does not erase the problem, but it gives you the power to face it. It keeps you moving when others stall. It keeps you fighting when others surrender. Resilience is not about never getting tired. It is about choosing energy even when you are tired. Consistency of energy is what transforms lives. Anyone can bring energy once in a while. Anyone can show up with fire for a short burst. But true greatness comes from choosing energy day after day, moment after moment. It is about deciding that no matter what, you will not go through life passively. You will not drag your feet. You will not sleepwalk through your opportunities. You will not waste your days in low power. You will live awake, alert, and alive. That consistency of energy compounds over time and separates you from the masses who live on autopilot. Energy is also about intention. You must decide not only to have energy, but also where to direct it. Wasting energy on gossip, on negativity, on distractions drains you without moving you forward. Directing energy into your goals, into your growth, into your purpose multiplies its impact. Too many people are not lacking energy. They are simply wasting it on the wrong things. They give their energy to complaining instead of creating, to fear instead of faith, to procrastination instead of progress. When you shift where your energy goes, everything changes. Energy is a choice rooted in responsibility. You cannot control every circumstance, but you can control the energy you bring into it. That is your power, and nobody can take it from you. The person with energy is unstoppable because they do not wait for conditions to be right. They create the conditions through their state of being. They do not surrender to what is happening around them. They dictate the atmosphere with their presence. Even in the hardest times, you have the power to choose energy. When life knocks you down, you can choose to rise with energy. When setbacks come, you can choose to fight with energy. When fear whispers in your ear, you can choose to respond with energy. This choice is the foundation of grit, of perseverance, of victory. Because in the end, it is not always the most talented, the most resourced, or the most privileged who win. It is the ones who bring energy relentlessly, who refuse to go through the motions, who choose to show up fully alive in every situation. Accountability creates growth because without accountability, there is no mirror to show you the truth about who you are and what you are doing. And without truth, there can be no real progress. People love to talk about dreams, goals, visions, and ambitions, but very few are willing to hold themselves accountable to the actions required to bring those dreams into reality. Accountability means ownership. It means you stop blaming circumstances, stop pointing fingers, stop making excuses. It means you look yourself in the eye and admit that your life is the result of your decisions, your habits, and your standards. Accountability is the bridge between intention and execution, the force that keeps you aligned with what you said you wanted, even when your feelings try to pull you in another direction. Most people fail not because they lack talent, not because they lack opportunity, but because they lack accountability. They drift through life without measuring themselves, without holding themselves to the fire, without demanding more. They allow themselves to slide, to compromise, to settle. And every time they let themselves off the hook, they weaken their discipline. They lower their standards. They sabotage their own growth. But when you embrace accountability, you refuse to let yourself slip unnoticed. You shine a light on your weaknesses. You confront your mistakes. You take responsibility for your failures. That humility and honesty create the foundation for growth because you cannot fix what you will not face. Accountability is the voice that says, you said you wanted this, so prove it with your actions. It is the internal referee that calls out your laziness, your procrastination, your inconsistency. It is uncomfortable because it forces you to face the gap between your words and your reality. But that discomfort is necessary. Growth never comes from comfort. It comes from the tension of being honest about where you are and committed to becoming more. Accountability is tension that pulls you forward, that keeps from slipping back into mediocrity, that forces you to level up when it would be easier to coast. There are two types of accountability, internal and external. Internal accountability is the ability to hold yourself responsible, to be your own critic, your own motivator, your own coach. This is the highest form of discipline, the ability to call yourself out when nobody else is watching, to demand excellence from yourself even when nobody else would know the difference. External accountability comes from others, mentors, coaches, teammates, family, people you trust to tell you the truth. Both are vital. Internal accountability builds character. External accountability builds perspective. Without both, you will drift. Alone, you will lie to yourself. With only others, you will depend too heavily on outside voices. Together, they create balance and growth. Accountability also creates consistency. When you know you have to answer for your actions, You are less likely to skip, less likely to cheat, less likely to settle. Accountability removes the option of hiding. It forces you to show your work, to present your results, to face the reality of your effort. That consistency compounds over time and creates mastery. Without accountability, you may start strong but fade away because nobody is checking and you stop checking yourself. With accountability, you keep pressing forward because the standard is always in front of you. Accountability is not about guilt or shame. It is about growth and truth. Too many people run from accountability because they fear judgment. But accountability is not about condemning you. It is about strengthening you. It is about shining a light on your blind spots, about helping you see where you can improve, about refusing to let you settle for less than your potential. The people who grow the most are not the ones who avoid accountability, but the ones who chase it, who ask for it, who welcome correction, because they know correction is the pathway to progress. Think about athletes at the highest level. They have coaches who hold them accountable every single day. Every rep, every movement, every mistake is tracked and corrected. They may be the best in the world, but they still subject themselves to accountability because they know greatness cannot survive without it. The same is true in life. If you want to grow, you must surround yourself with people who will tell you the truth, who will not let you off easy, who will push you when you slack. And you must also build the internal strength to hold yourself accountable when nobody else is around. Accountability also builds trust. When you are accountable, people know you mean what you say. They know you will follow through. They know you will take responsibility. They know you will own both success and failure. That reliability builds respect and influence. People follow those they trust, and trust is built on accountability. When you hide your mistakes, when you dodge responsibility, when you make excuses, people lose trust in you. But when you step up, admit where you fell short, and show how you will improve, you gain respect even in failure. Accountability makes you dependable, and dependability is rare in a world full of excuses. Accountability also accelerates learning. Every mistake carries a lesson, but you only learn it if you acknowledge it. Accountability forces you to analyze your failures, to ask what went wrong, to identify how to do better next time. Without accountability, mistakes repeat themselves endlessly. With accountability, mistakes become stepping stones to mastery. Growth is not about avoiding failure. It is about owning failure and using it as fuel. Accountability transforms failure from a dead end into a detour towards success. Another truth about accountability is that it keeps your ego in check. Ego whispers that you are fine as you are, that you do not need correction, that you are above the rules. Accountability humbles you. It reminds you that no matter how talented you are, you still have room to grow. That no matter how much you have achieved, you still have weaknesses to address. That humility is what keeps you hungry. Without accountability, success can make you complacent. With accountability, success keeps you motivated to reach even higher. Accountability is also tied to standards. Growth happens when you raise your standards, but accountability is what ensures you live by them. Anyone can say they want to live at a higher level, but without accountability, those words are empty. Accountability forces your behavior to match your standards. It refuses to let you settle for less. It demands alignment between what you say and what you do. That alignment is what creates integrity, and integrity is the foundation of lasting success. Even in the smallest things, accountability matters. If you say you will wake up at a certain time, hold yourself accountable to it. If you say you will complete a task, hold yourself accountable to it. If you say you will show up for someone, hold yourself accountable to it. Every small act of accountability strengthens your character. Every time you keep your word, even in private, you build confidence in yourself. Confidence is not built by empty affirmations. It is built by proving to yourself that you are trustworthy. Accountability is how you prove it. Accountability also creates discipline, because discipline is not just doing what you said you would do, but ensuring you answer for it. When you know accountability is waiting, you are less likely to give in to temptation, less likely to procrastinate, less likely to compromise. Accountability sharpens your discipline like a blade, cutting away excuses and distractions. Over time, that discipline becomes who you are. You stop needing external accountability as much because you have internalized it. But even then, the wisest still seek accountability because they know growth never stops. Accountability separates the dreamers from the doers. Dreamers talk about what they want, but without accountability, their dreams float in the air. Doers measure, track, evaluate, and adjust. They use accountability as the engine that turns vision into reality. They know that hope without responsibility is empty, that goals without accountability are wishes. Accountability is the mechanism that forces action, that demands progress, that ensures growth. Accountability also reveals character in adversity. When things go wrong, do you blame others or do you take responsibility? When you lose, do you point fingers or do you own your part? When you face failure, do you make excuses or do you say, "This is on me and I will fix it"? That choice defines your character. Accountability means you refuse to play the victim. You refuse to surrender your power. You refuse to let circumstances control you. You take ownership, and ownership is power. Accountability creates growth because it keeps you honest. It keeps you humble. It keeps you hungry. Without it, you drift into mediocrity, blinded by excuses and numbed by comfort. With it, you sharpen, you improve, you rise. Accountability is the discipline of champions, the mindset of leaders, the requirement of anyone who wants to live at their highest level. It is not easy. It is not comfortable, but it is the path to growth because it forces you to face the truth. And truth is where transformation begins. Legacy over excuses means deciding every single day that the story you leave behind will be stronger than the reasons you gave yourself for holding back. Excuses are easy. They are cheap. They come naturally to anyone who doesn't want to face the truth. They sound convincing in the moment because they protect your pride. They let you avoid the hard work. They allow you to blame circumstances or people instead of looking inward. But excuses don't build anything. They only destroy. Excuses bury potential. Excuses waste time. Excuses poison discipline. Legacy, on the other hand, is what endures. Legacy is the footprint of your life, the mark you carve into the world, the impact that lasts when you are gone. The choice is always there: live for excuses that vanish with the wind, or live for a legacy that stands when the storms have passed. Excuses never made a name echo through generations. Excuses never built families stronger, never inspired communities, never set a standard for others to follow. What people remember is not the reasons you couldn't, but the proof that you did. Legacy is written in the moments when you could have quit, but chose to fight, when you could have complained, but chose to build, when you could have hidden, but chose to step up. Every time you silence an excuse, you add another brick to your legacy. Every time you reject the easy out, you strengthen the foundation of what you leave behind. Legacy requires sacrifice, but excuses are always about comfort. Excuses ask, what feels easy right now? Legacy asks, what will matter years from now? Excuses demand you protect your ego. Legacy demands you invest in your future. Excuses serve you in the moment. Legacy serves others long after you're gone. Excuses will fade with you, but your legacy will speak when you are no longer here to defend yourself. That's why legacy is always greater than excuses, because it outlives time. Excuses come dressed as logic. They sound like reasons, but in reality, they are chains. They say, I don't have enough time. They say, I wasn't given the same chances. They say, I'll start tomorrow. They sound reasonable, but they are lies designed to keep you small. Legacy breaks those chains. Legacy says, I will find a way. Legacy says, I will create the opportunity. Legacy says, I will start today, no matter how small the step. Excuses keep you trapped in circles. Legacy pushes you forward into progress. The person who lives by excuses always ends life with regret. They look back at what could have been, what should have been, and realize excuses robbed them. They realize the moments of comfort cost them the satisfaction of fulfillment. They realize they traded greatness for convenience. But the person who lives for legacy looks back with peace. They know they gave everything they had. They know they poured themselves into something bigger. They know their struggle meant something beyond themselves. Legacy turns pain into purpose. Excuses turn pain into pity. Living for legacy means asking yourself hard questions every day. What am I building? Who am I impacting? What will people say when my name is mentioned? Will they remember my excuses? Or will they remember my fight? Legacy demands honesty, and honesty destroys excuses. When you set your mind on legacy, you stop caring about justifying your failures and start caring about creating victories. You stop rehearsing reasons and start producing results. You stop talking about what's possible and start proving what's possible. Excuses are selfish because they only protect your pride. Legacy is selfless because it builds something for others. Your children don't inherit your excuses. They inherit your legacy. Your community doesn't grow from your reasons. It grows from your example. Your friends, your family, your teammates, your colleagues, none of them are moved by your excuses, but they can be transformed by your legacy. The standard you live by will inspire others to raise theirs. That's why choosing legacy over excuses is not just about you. It's about everyone your life touches. Excuses are forgettable. Nobody remembers why you didn't show up, why you didn't follow through, why you didn't chase your dream. They only remember that you didn't. Legacy is unforgettable. It doesn't matter if your beginnings were small, if your resources were limited, if your obstacles were great. If you choose to rise above excuses and persist, your story becomes one that inspires. Legacy is not about perfection. It's about persistence. It's about showing that even with challenges, even with setbacks, even with failures, you refuse to surrender to excuses. Living for legacy forces you to think long-term. Excuses are always short-term thinking. I'm tired right now. I'm scared right now. I don't feel like it right now. Legacy says, what will this choice mean years from now? What will this sacrifice build in the future? When you prioritize legacy, you endure temporary discomfort for lasting impact. You endure pain today for strength tomorrow. You endure discipline today for freedom tomorrow. Excuses rob you of the future by comforting you in the present. Legacy invests in the future by demanding sacrifice in the present. Excuses are contagious, but so is legacy. If you live with excuses, those around you will adopt the same mentality. They will settle, they will justify, they will quit. But if you live for legacy, your example will spread. Others will see your discipline, your consistency, your refusal to accept less, and they will be challenged to rise. Legacy creates leaders. Excuses create followers who never move. Every decision you make is teaching someone else how to live. If you choose excuses, you teach weakness. If you choose legacy, you teach strength. Excuses are rooted in fear. Fear of failure. Fear of judgment. Fear of struggle. Legacy is rooted in courage. The courage to face failure. The courage to risk judgment. The courage to embrace struggle. Excuses shrink your life. Legacy expands it. Excuses keep you in the shadows. Legacy puts you in the light. Excuses whisper. What if? Legacy declares of an if. Excuses hold you back. Legacy pushes you forward. Courage is the difference maker. And legacy is always born in courage. Legacy requires vision. You cannot leave a legacy without knowing what you want to build. Excuses cloud vision because they focus you on obstacles. Legacy clears vision because it focuses you on possibilities. Excuses say, look at how hard it is. Legacy says, look at how worth it will be. Excuses blur the picture of your potential. Legacy sharpens it. Vision turns effort into meaning, And when you see the meaning, you stop clinging to excuses. Excuses thrive on comparison. They say, he had it easier, she had more support, they had better opportunities. But legacy is personal. Legacy says, what will I do with what I have? How will I maximize my own story? Excuses shift the focus outward. Legacy shifts it inward. Excuses make you bitter. Legacy makes you better. You cannot build legacy while staring at someone else's path. You build it by owning your own, by running your own race, by taking responsibility for your own outcomes. Excuses keep you average. Legacy requires excellence. Average is built on excuses, on settling, on saying good enough. Excellence is built on pushing beyond, on rejecting comfort, on demanding more from yourself. Legacy is the product of excellence sustained over time. Nobody remembers the average. Nobody honors the excuses. But excellence leaves a mark. Excellence requires accountability, persistence, and faith. Excuses require none of those. That's why most people live by excuses. They are easy. But if you want to be remembered, you cannot choose easy. You must choose legacy. Excuses make you reactive. Legacy makes you proactive. Excuses wait for circumstances to improve. Legacy creates improvement regardless of circumstances. Excuses blame the weather, the economy, the timing, the people. Legacy says, I will find a way no matter what. Excuses live in reaction. Legacy lives in intention. And intention builds momentum. Momentum builds growth, and growth builds legacy. Legacy is also about alignment. When your words, your actions, your values, and your standards align, you build credibility. Excuses are misalignment, saying one thing but doing another. Excuses destroy trust. Legacy builds it. People can see when your life aligns, when your actions back up your words. That alignment is what makes your legacy believable. Without it, your legacy is just talk. With it, your legacy is a living example. Excuses fade with time. Legacy grows with time. The more you live for excuses, the weaker your influence becomes until it disappears completely. The more you live for legacy, the stronger your influence becomes until it spreads far beyond your reach. Excuses are temporary comfort. Legacy is eternal impact. Excuses die when you do. Legacy lives after you do.